Welcome back to Close Encounters of the Tech Kind. Got an interesting conversation today. We led into it last time with a little bit of a tease. We'll dive into it a little bit deeper, though. But before then, I just want to introduce myself. I'm John, kind of leading this troop as we go through the exploration of the technology stuff. With us today, we've got Mike.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Jackson.
How's it going? My name's Jackson.
And we go into a little detail on this, who we are, what we do. You have to check out some of the other podcasts. But with us today is our flight director, flight engineer. I'm not sure what we're calling him this week, but here comes Artie.
I don't know how to respond to all that. Just think of me as the great and powerful Oz.
Just without the Tin Man and the Scarecrow, right?
Sure. Still deciding which one of you is which.
Oh,
But he does wear the red shoes.
wait. When you say he, which he? Don't answer that. Never mind. Moving on. Moving on.
Sound like siren over there. Is that?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but the joys of downtown office space is kind of awesome. Got a fantastic view of downtown Cheyenne, but check out our website if you want to see pictures of that.
Yeah, it is a nice
So-
office space.
Oh, I agree. It's good being in a historic building.
Do we still have that camera that's pointing outside the window?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's some good events that happen throughout the year, and we got a just roadside seat to that bird's eye view. So speaking of events, we alluded to the idea of metadata. So data and metadata are two things that are tracked by all of us, right?
Well, define all of us. What do you mean?
All of us do it. So when you write down a note on a piece of paper, you got that note on the piece of paper. But think of metadata as being what paper is it and where is that paper?
Sure, like my filing cabinet.
Yeah.
You could say that.
Or the packet drawer where you put all the sauce packets from takeout food.
That's just the everything drawer. That's where you keep the matches, a lighter usually. You've probably got one fork in there, some pens and pencils, tape, stapler, and your sticky notes and sauce packets.
Don't forget the screws and the nails and that.
Right, there's always like four random screws that you don't remember what they came
keys that
from.
you don't know what they go to.
And a
But you
couple
can't
of
live without
contacts.
You can't throw the keys away because it might be useful.
And if you don't have one of those drawers, you're probably too rich to talk to me. So
Oh, everybody's got one of those drawers. It's just there's two kinds of people: those that admit it and those that use it, or those that deny it. Those that use it. I need more caffeine. There's too much blood in my caffeine stream right now.
You know, to bring that up to modern times, you got to throw in a couple USB thumb drives, some
Don't forget that.
there's usually
USB
a flashlight in there too. I forgot about that.
USB conversion cables.
It's always the size the most sizable drawer you have in your kitchen is this
Yeah.
drawer.
Not me. It's the smallest.
Maybe a couple of SD cards.
Oh, I think I lost audio.
Uh-oh.
We
Man
can
down.
still hear you.
Man overboard. Flight engineer, come rescue us.
Well, I've got our surface-to-air missiles, so that's not going to
You
help.
guys hear me? I can't hear you guys.
We can hear you just fine.
There we go.
Good.
Way to go, Artie. We'll give you the credit.
Okay, I think we're good now. Did I get deafened? What happened?
We
No,
could
we
hear
heard
you,
you.
but no clue what was going on your end.
Well, we're good now.
Works. Welcome back.
Thank you.
We
thank
missed you.
So what kind of metadata do you have collected on you, Jackson?
What have I collected, or what does everyone else have on me?
Yes.
Oh man, I personally, well, starting with metadata that I have collected, um, we have a couple of clients that we have built websites for, and we do collect some metadata there. That's some things that we track. We don't track a whole lot. It's mostly just, hey, did you click on our button? Stuff like that. Did you call us? That's about all the metadata as far as online goes that I personally track or keep track of. But as far as what metadata people have on me, I don't want to know. I'm sure they know where I live, my daily schedule. I mean, there's so much. I mean, the scariest and biggest examples for me sometimes are like when my phone will start giving me suggestions based on the time of day and where you're currently at. You probably want to get home right now, or like you probably want to clock into work. And I'm like, I hate that you know that, and I don't know how to turn that off. Stop tracking me. It knows my schedule. So yeah, there's so much it knows about me. I mean, all the companies, Facebook, YouTube, Google, they're all kind of the same, but the list goes on.
Yep. So Mike, what is metadata? What's a good example of that in modern computing?
It's like extra detail information about. It's not just you. Like there's your direct data, your name, your address, your phone number, direct identifiable details about you. But the metadata, from what I've seen, and we talked a little bit about this last week, as I was alluding to it with like cell phone use. My previous company paid for some marketing analysis for potentially opening a storefront in a particular location. And what they're able to do is they're able to pull up this information of how much traffic, foot traffic, automobile traffic, like it's a variety of traffic, but a lot of it comes from these fancy little rectangular things that we call cell phones that we carry around because they have a GPS system in it. And even if the GPS is turned off, they're still talking to different cell phone towers, and they can at least get a approximation of the location. But they're able to track and say, okay, we don't know who it was specifically, but we just know that a cell phone came onto the property. Let's say it's a large mall. Okay. They were on the property starting at this time. They wandered around to these bunch of different shops. They spent a lot of time at this restaurant over here. And then that cell phone left the area at such and such time, maybe a couple hours later, right? And so that's all useful metadata that it doesn't directly identify the person, but it does describe their behavior while they're in that particular geographic location. And we can do the same thing with websites. Jackson's talking about how maybe on a website, we don't know who the person is specifically, but we know what pages they were on, maybe how long they were looking at a particular page, where they
come
clicked,
from.
where did they come from before they hit our page, and where are they going to next afterwards? Did they click on one of our links that are on the page, or did they just completely close the window? And that's all useful information to know if, is the web page engaging the audience? Are they getting the information that they need? Are they spending enough time there? Or is it just a quick glance and they move on kind of thing? So that's where metadata comes in very useful for someone who's especially into marketing and advertising, that they want to know, is what I'm doing effective? In the real world example with the storefront, I want to find a place where, we know that, again, it's a mall. you can say, well, did they spend more time doing entertainment type things, or did they spend more time window shopping at retail stores to buy clothes, to buy electronics, to buy, whatever? And that would help you decide, well, is my idea for this retail location, the store that I want to do, will it fit in a place like this? Or is there too much competition? Or is it something that fills an empty void of
Hmm.
people looking for that kind of a thing to shop at or do or whatever? So very useful information.
So it's not the data on the web page. It's not the contents of the store. It's the
Mhm.
who's looking, how is it looking, why are they looking, how long are they looking.
And mostly when you really, it
Preference.
comes down to it's really it's looking at the behavior. It's an analysis of behavior. Like, what are they doing? How are they doing it? Where are they going with it?
I wouldn't say it's the analysis. I would say it's the data to analyze.
The data to analyze. And from that we can get, when we went with this company, they were able to provide, like, so we had different locations across the geographic region. Say, okay, here's the places that you're considering, right? And they were able to then score it and say, this one scored a whatever for what you're trying to do. This one scored a little lower. This one scored a lot higher. And then as a reflection, you're going to compare that with, okay, now I got to think about how much it's going to cost me. What's it going to cost me to get into that place where I'm getting the higher scores and
Mhm.
everything? Is the lease compatible with my budget? Is it going to be worth me investing that much money, to pay for a lease there if I end up not getting very much traffic and I end up, going bankrupt?
So you get like predictive analysis on
Mhm. Yeah,
what is the possibility of future performance.
right.
I think the biggest application that I see with this um, is in I run a lot of Google Ads campaigns, and so from there, I mean, I'm staring at metadata all day long. At least when I'm looking at it, what I get to see is what did a user search when my ad showed up. Did they click on it? Was it showed to them? I guess that comes first. Was it showed to them? Did they click on it? And if they clicked on it, how long did they, on average, did they stay on the page? Did they navigate to other pages? I mean, there's so much data that goes into this, into a single ad on Google, just popping up a website or even a number.
Mm-hmm.
And that allows me as an advertiser to then decide, okay, this keyword that I'm using to trigger my ad. So if someone is searching for, say, dog treats, right? I sell dog treats. And if I have dog treats as a keyword and say maybe that specific keyword, dog treats, is not actually selling anything. People are clicking onto my page and immediately leaving, or maybe they click and they navigate for a while, but they don't ever actually buy anything. If that's the case, then why do I want to keep spending money for that? And why does the viewer want to keep seeing my ad? So
Mm-hmm.
from someone who is an advertiser, or this can even go beyond, I'll play the advocate of collecting metadata, and say that it's a what do you call that? A symbiotic relationship. I benefit because I don't spend money on showing you an ad or attracting you to my website, and I save you the trouble of navigating to my website and then deciding you don't actually want anything from it. So it's a win-win in my eyes, right? I spend less money, you don't get annoyed by my ads, and we're great. And if you're someone who does get shown my ads, then hopefully it's because I'm showing you something you actually want to buy, and it's an answer to a question you search for. You were looking for dog treats, and here you go. So
You're the solution to the problem they don't yet know they have.
exactly, and that's the glory of Google and the market we live in. So I'll argue that point until somebody convinces me otherwise.
Oh, well, no argument. I just want a deeper thought exercise on this. So let's take another angle on this. We're advocates for cybersecurity, for personal safety on the internet. So you can block people from seeing your data. Does that include the metadata? Do you have rights to your metadata?
That's a good question. Depends on how you define what the internet is. I think we often define it as it's a public space, right?
Well,
So-
I don't know. I think that's under constant debate.
Yeah, so I think that's something you have to kind of define, is whether or not you are in a public space. Because if you consider that to be a public space, then you abide by U.S. law, and that, I mean, you can't keep anyone from seeing where you're going, but doesn't mean you have to give them your ID and your phone number.
Well, let's use Mike's analogy, going through the either mall or getting a retail space or something. The analysis, that's pretty cool. But the people walking by, should they have anonymity? Should they have privacy to getting counted?
The thing I see is that it generally is anonymous. We see this all the time, is that maybe you go to a website and there'll be a disclaimer on the website that says, in relation to like cookies or other things, but they're collecting anonymous data to help improve your user experience, or to, there's probably a dozen different reasons why they might collect it and everything.
Yeah, how many different mics are there, and are you sure it's that mic?
And like I said,
anonymous.
So we're looking at this chart. We look at a particular property, and we're looking at the fact that over the course of let's say 16 hours in the day, that maybe 3,000 different individual points of data came in and wandered around the property and then left again, or something, right? Like I said, those don't have a name and an address attached to them. But it is a hit. It is a known thing that, hey, there is a device that came within this proximity. And so once it recognizes it, it can assign it a unique identifier to say, okay, you're A number 1, and the next one that comes on is A number 2, so on and so forth, all the way up until Z number 430, or whatever you want to call it, right? And it can track the behavior of that single point until it leaves the proximity that it's measuring, right? Now you take this to a more global thing. Is it tracking beyond that? Absolutely. I mean, your cell phone is constantly, hitting different cell towers. And as long as that identifier stays attached to it, they can say, well, okay, so you went from here, you were in Denver, and now you went to Los Angeles, and you visit all these places, and you drove up here and down into the canyon, and da-da-da. All this different information is being gathered about you. And then it comes into a thing where if somebody is targeting you, it could be a security concern, because if they can get that data and they can match it up with you specifically, then now they can say, okay, now I have a name and a face and a way to identify, and here is his behavior throughout a week or a month of places he's gone, things he's done, things he's bought, things he's seen, and all that. And if you're a valuable target to that hacker, that's valuable information that they can use to then social engineer you, or just a variety of things that they might do to try to gain access to your identity, your bank accounts, your whatever else.
Yep.
Yeah, it's I had an experience with that recently. Is I took a weekend trip down to a national park, and I went with a few people, and then I get back from my trip, all my photos upload to my cloud, and then it gives me a report, and it says, hey, here's your trip to such and such national park. And there, and you can see, it says, here, you went with these people, here's your route, you drove down here, then you went and did this hike, then you came back, you went and did this hike, you took a picture up there's a picture. I mean, it knows everything, and it's like, why are you storing that about me? I don't need you to know that.
I just want my pictures. Don't tell me where I did it and how long it took.
Exactly. And it's like, and it even goes back to then people imagine this doesn't exist, but I mean, you have people and they'll post pictures on social media. I mean, that's normal, totally fine thing. People do it all the time. And somebody could draw those same conclusions by doing a ton of research and figuring out, oh, they took this picture here. That's, this spot and this hike. So you went there and then, but instead of forcing someone to go through all of those steps to then get in your social media, they have to look at the pictures. They have to really stalk you. All they have to do is get into your Google or iCloud or whatever it be, and they just find the trip and they get all of that information for you because it's been calculated already. And so it's something that I don't know why they want that data, because I don't want it, and I don't know if there's a majority of people who decide they want this data. But yeah, I mean that's the thing.
That's the thing is metadata is secondary to the useful data, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not data, it's data about the data. And it could be useful for forestry service. They want to see how many people walked around and, touched grass that day. They want to see how many people visited this, how many people took pictures of, a monument or something. It's not necessarily useful, but it could be to answer questions that we don't know need to be asked. Maybe they don't need to be asked. But metadata is one of those things. I don't think we're covering that in the current anonymous discussions or privacy discussions that are out there.
Mm-hmm. And it's something I would have less of an issue if, say, that data was being collected, but it wasn't attributed to me, right? It's the fact that it's attributed to my account that I have with my cloud services, because now it has a trace back to me. Like, say the National Park Services, they want to know how many people are visiting their national parks, what are the most popular hikes. And if that data is being used, I don't care about that as much if I'm just a number on a page than I do to saying, here's my name, social security number, you went and did this and this and this.
So if you ask, and I'm thinking out loud here, and I don't know if there's an answer to this question, but if you get a company like no sponsorship here, Delete Me or some other protection program out there, so they delete the metadata too.
I don't know how they'd find it.
If you're walking, let's say that national park, you say, hey, delete my record. Does it also take you out of the census? How many people visited? Don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this, guys, but I think it's one of those blind spots that people have when we're talking about privacy and security on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So how would we prevent people from gathering metadata, respectfully? How would we say, don't count me in your walkabouts? Don't count me in your number of Wi-Fi touches. Don't track my website.
Leave your
Incognito
cell phone at
browsing.
home.
I got two answers there.
Yeah, leave your cell phone at home. I mean, really, these things are so powerful and so smart that I don't think people understand. It is literally a full-fledged computer in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
So any application that can run on a computer can run on this. I mean, it can be programmed to do just about anything, and it has been equipped with all of the devices like a GPS and a cellular radio and a Wi-Fi radio and a camera, et cetera, that it enables that computer to do a lot of things. That more so even than what a traditional computer does, because I don't believe that my desktop computer, I've never seen a desktop computer equipped with a GPS device. I mean, I'm sure you could probably get one and install it, but I don't know what the use case for that would be. But that's what I'm saying, is that there are peripherals and appliances that are on these things that just do not exist on a regular modern day desktop computer.
Day 1752, still no movement.
I'm just imagining, one of those diehard hikers, and they hike around with their desktop, and it's tracking their position. And they've got the backpack with the PC on the back and the battery pack, and they've got the keyboard. And they're tracking
Back in
their
the
hike, writing
back in
their
the day, I'm
review of the
sure that was
trail.
a thing. I would not have been surprised back in the day to have seen that. I do remember
Yeah.
there was a guy that came to a science fair at my elementary school one time, and he had packed up. He was helping his son with the science fair, and his son had set up this whole display, but he had set up like this whole like computer in a suitcase kind of a deal to
hmm
transport it, and it was quite the deal. Like he unpacks it, and it's like this full computer setup and everything. It's like, man, that looks like a lot to pack around and just set up. But there you go. I mean, but that's what we were. That was the technology of the time. I mean, we didn't.
I got friends that do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like even to this day, they'll do that.
Oh yeah, they're gaming rigs and everything,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Actually, I do something similar for walking around to clients. We've got a network in a box. So I got switches, I got routers, I got Wi-Fi, I got everything in this box. I got hundreds of feet of Cat5. So if there's a company that's down or customer needs some sort of connectivity, I just walk out, set the box down. I got a network.
hmm
All you need is Starlink at that point, but
Basically, yeah. But yeah, these phones, they're capable of so much more than I ever thought that they would be capable of.
right?
And regarding the metadata gathered by the phone, you don't need to be actively talking on your phone because your phone is talking
Mhm.
to all the different things that you're going by, be it Wi-Fi, be it a cell tower. That is a point of data.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
I think about the only way to prevent it from talking is to put it on airplane mode. But even then, I'm not sure that shuts it off entirely. Even turning your phone off, a lot of iPhones and new Androids have the battery is still getting drained while it's off because there's a function that allows it to be tracked even if it's turned off. And
Yep.
it's like for the Find My iPhone app and stuff
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah, it's
Different
it's
experience.
it's really, really, really hard to limit metadata, right? It's the same. It's almost identical to saying limit the ability of people being able to see what you do out in public. It's like you'd have to have the invisibility cloak from Harry Potter and walk around in
Mhm.
that. Like it's not feasible.
Another one?
People are going to see you if you go. Like you wouldn't be able to go to the grocery store ever because there's cameras in a grocery store. There's hundreds of people in there. They're all going to see you there. They might not know your name, but they can certainly tell maybe what you look like, and they might see you buy a couple of things. And so it's the same idea with your phone. You have to realize that you are carrying around with you the public, essentially, the public
Yeah.
online. And so it's like there's nothing you can do, honestly. And like they were saying, even if you have your phone in airplane mode, it's still tracking that data. I can almost guarantee you it's just storing it offline, and as soon as you're back online, it's going to upload it.
And that just made me think of something that, even before we had these smartphones, there have been people trying to gather this metadata anyway. I mean, a guy standing at the front entrance of a mall, and he's just got a little clicker counter there. He's just counting the number of people that go in, and maybe another guy's counting the number of people that walk out. And they can apply some math to it to figure out how many people are actually in the building at a given time. Another thing, and I haven't seen one of these actually in a while because I suspect maybe they're starting to do it all digitally now, but you drive through certain neighborhoods and there'd be like a little device with a little hose stretched across the road. And it's every time the car drives over, it's counting your vehicle being on that street going in a certain direction so that they could get an idea of traffic, how much traffic is in this area at a certain time of day. And if they've got a bunch of those set up at different parts of the town, maybe you can figure out, what's the traffic flow, which are the corridors that we need to be looking at to relieve traffic congestion, things like that.
Oh, it's even better than that. These license plate readers that are going everywhere.
Yeah, now you've got license plate readers. Yeah.
Those things, I love and hate them. And it took me a while to figure out why I love them, because I really hate the idea of just a dragnet tracking all our license plates where we're driving. But let me offer one thought. Amber Alerts.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know exactly where that car is. We'll send all the troops. We'll get that kid back to safety.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
all right, I'll take that.
I think we come across this dilemma every time we talk on this podcast, is that we develop these technologies for good, but they can always be used for malicious purposes, right? Everything starts out with, well, I wouldn't say everything, but most things start out with a good purpose in mind, right? Hey, we want to do this because we're going to be innovative and we're going to increase user experience, or, we're going to allow for the Amber Alerts to be effective, all this stuff. But then you worry about, okay, if you're storing that data, what if someone else gets their hands on it?
Well, that's where I've got the problem with the license plate readers, is they haven't been challenged in court the way cell phone tracking has been challenged. We haven't said, hey, what's the privacy sacrifices we're making just so that we can track the bad guys across town.
I would argue too that license plate readers are less anonymized, because your license plate is a unique set of digits and everything, and with optical character recognition, or even just a photograph, then someone looks at it and goes, oh, that guy was driving with this license plate. I can go look that up, figure out how to get into the DMV and find out what who belongs to that license plate and everything. Or false accusations, maybe the license plates were stolen and put on a different vehicle. So the license plate is right, but then when you look at the car, well, that's supposed to go to a white Ford Taurus, but I'm watching it, it's actually on a black Jeep Wrangler or something like that. Doesn't matter. I don't know if the intelligence behind the software is accounting for things like that. It just knows, hey, I read this license plate, that must be the guy. He's speeding, We're going to send the ticket to over here.
And there's one issue that came up with, it's been going on for a while now, but people that have like the vanity license plates, and they are very similar to ones that you can like buy online. Like the one that I can call out right now is Out of Time from California, or Back to the Future.
Back to the Future, yeah.
People have put that on their plate and driven through these places, so the person that actually owns the Out of Time license plate in California is getting tickets from like New York, from Florida, from Wisconsin.
We're going 88 miles an hour, right?
In a
I saw one guy. He was on the some news channel, like 60 Minutes or something. He got he was on a waiting list, and he finally got his wanted Florida license plate. Said retired. He started getting tow violations, toll violations, parking tickets. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of tickets came into his post office box. He's like, I've only been in Florida, guys. What are you doing? But the novelty license plate of a Florida retired, everybody was putting on their cars and driving around. Which one I think is hilarious. Not the fact that he got those tickets, but the fact that you have these automated systems just kicking out blind ticket and violation and summons and all that stuff to whoever the registered owner is, without any due process or looking at it, or human saying, This doesn't look like a Buick. It looks like a DeLorean.
Yeah.
So I think we're too infant in our understanding what metadata can do to really put rules and restrictions and controls on it. But it could be a powerful tool.
And and I think you're right about that. And this wouldn't be the first time we run into it, right? Speak of the devil, Meta itself, who was formerly Facebook, we all know they're the king of collecting metadata. You know, back in the day, Facebook went through many a lawsuit because of this. And it wasn't just metadata, but also personal data. But both of those things they've gotten in trouble for, have gone through court and lost money. But obviously, that's their entire business model is data and metadata. And that was the whole thing, is they were selling it to companies to advertise. And so that was kind of the first shock, I think, to most people, was the whole Facebook thing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that it stopped. It just means now you get the notice and you have no choice anyway. So there's it's going on. I think people have more of an understanding of what it's being used for, but I think you're right in that it's still, like, the full potential has not yet been unlocked. There are certainly people that are in the career of staring at this metadata and doing the analytics, and they're starting to come up with profiles of people and what they do and their habits, and you can start to match that with certain demographics. Why? Probably because they want to better their advertising, or maybe they want to, as Mike said, increase the user experience or better the user experience. So that's usually the root of all of the reason of why. But I think it's only a matter of time before all of this metadata starts really being put together, and we're making profiles of people now without having to have the name attributed. And then that's the last step. And maybe they do or don't want that, but I think at that point they don't necessarily need it.
I think they want it. But I think you're right. They don't need it.
Yeah.
Like metadata, I don't know. It's a good thing and a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. And I think we never really answered the question of what you can do to restrict what metadata is being collected. And I don't maybe we didn't answer because there isn't really. Yeah, I don't think there is a good answer. But I'm wondering if there's other. I think the biggest. Go ahead.
Everybody that drives on, Highway 401 or let's say Highway 1 in California, you got to sign a waiver saying that they will collect your metadata as you drive down the road.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, I guess we did kind of answer it, and the answer is either A, we don't know, or B, you can't. There's not much you can do to stop them from collecting that data unless you just don't go to their website or you don't go wherever.
So then that goes to the big question. Go ahead, Artie.
Even if you don't go to their website, they're still collecting data on you because they might have widgets on other websites that are saying, hey, this IP address was here at this time in this browser at this browser window width and height. So there's a lot of metadata recording that, happens.
Yeah, and
you go to Google and everything about your PC spec. I'm my brain just shut down.
No worries. Yeah, if anybody's curious about that, just does a website track you when you're not using the website? Jackson, you were talking about Facebook lawsuits. They got hit with a big one because they were tracking users off page. Facebook could be closed, and Facebook back then knew everything that you were doing anyways because they put a tracker on your system and they fed the behavior back to Facebook. So, yeah, that's way too overt. They got caught doing that. But well, how let's go another direction. How do we protect ourselves against our metadata being dragnet, gathered and stored and processed and used?
I guess you have to be careful of who you're signing up with, right?
Mhm.
You've got to read through
Read
those
the fine
terms and
print.
conditions. Yeah, you got to read through it and see, okay, what are you going to do with my data? Are you willing, or are you saying that you're going to sell it, or rather, does it say in there that you're not going to sell it, right? Because unless it says that, then they have the legal freedom to just sell your data. Because if I want to know what a bunch of users on Facebook are doing, I can ask Facebook and say, "Hey, Facebook, will you sell me the data that you have on people in Washington or whatever?" Right? And unless they have that in their terms and conditions of that they're not going to sell your data, then Facebook could say, "Sure, yeah, we'll sell it to you for $1 a piece." That would be extremely expensive, but that's kind of what happens. That's the market, because people want to spend their money in the best places, and to do that, you kind of have to get the vibe from what people want, what kinds of people want what kinds of things.
It kind
Well, I
of
hope.
reminds me of the Nielsen Ratings company. I mean, that was a company that came in and they paid you for your metadata so
Mhm.
that they could sell that back to advertisers, to TV stations, to internet service providers. And I mean, they're still around, but they're not as prominent as they used to be. But at least you were getting paid for your data versus now where it's just we're harvesting it and you're not getting anything.
I know we're sending you ads, but we're not sending you enough ads. Yeah, it's what an interesting time we live. I hope we figure this metadata privacy thing out before Neuralink becomes commonplace. Can you imagine your daydreams being tracked?
Holy
Light
cow.
speed
We're not
briefs.
recording the data. We're just seeing where you wander in your mind.
Commercials televised directly into your brain while you dream.
I think there's been a few movies made kind of along those lines, haven't there?
Yeah.
The only way we're going to get away from it is if you completely unplug. And if you completely unplug, then you're not worth targeting anyway. I mean, and to make it the degree at which you would have to get people, like whatever solution you found, I think it'd be very difficult, or it'd make it difficult to use what we know as the internet. And I don't know that people are going to sign up for it. I think people are just accepting it as a fact of life that generally the internet is free. I'm free to go where I want, I'm free to do what I want, and as part of that, I accept the fact that my my search history or whatever, metadata that's out there is going to be used in some way
Mhm.
or another. And the only way that someone's going to be able to get away from that is they're going to have to pay for a service that is totally privatized, and that's going to have to come from user subscriptions, because now you're not going to have any lucrative business in advertising, or it's just going to be so complex and fiddly and everything that nobody's going to want to do it. It's going to take the ease, and it's going to make the user experience go way down, that it's not going to be worth it to anybody. So I don't see how we get away from it other than those options. I mean, yeah, I could go build my own cell phone. Where do I start with that? Well, first I'm going to have to get a processor chip that's secure. I'm going to have to find some RAM to put on. I'm going to have to build the applications. I'm going to have to put all the
Just use an
at,
ESP32.
yeah, we already talked about that. I don't think that was a solution. So, and I don't have the time or money to invest in building my own cell phone from scratch that doesn't constantly talk on the internet and send out its GPS coordinates. So, I'm just going to stick with what I got. I got it for a decent price. The screen's a little cracked. I probably need to get it replaced, but there you go. I mean, it works.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's another thought for you guys. What if we could tap into our metadata to prove our identity?
Ooh, that could be useful.
Ooh,
That could be
couldn't
useful.
that be cool?
That could
Like-
be like a internet fingerprint kind of a thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
But how?
let me just think about that for a minute. Because if somebody had stole your identity, and we actually even see this. You talked a little bit about it, when we're talking about recovering from when you got hacked and everything, and talking to your bank. Your bank can look and say, well, that charge, you have a charge here in the town that you live in at the grocery store. That makes sense. And then 10 minutes later, there is a charge at an electronics store in China. That doesn't make sense. Because you
Travel
can't
fast.
get from, you travel really fast. Like, how did you do that? I didn't, because somebody stole my credit card number and everything and tried to fraudulently use it. So having that metadata to prove, like, see, look, here are the places I actually went, and somebody could look at that metadata and go, oh yeah, that's where they were. They were here, 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 and here.
Yep.
That could be interesting if it could be used as a fingerprint of some sorts.
So I think that I really like that idea, or maybe I really hate it. I'm not sure yet, but I really like it for now.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering
I love and hate.
how the way like the easiest way I see it, and I'll explain why I think this wouldn't work. But if you're saying you're using that metadata almost as like two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication, it becomes another identifier. I go to my bank website, I try and log in, and I give it my name or my username and my password, and maybe even I get a text on my phone, and then say I have my metadata, and maybe say it's stored on my phone from which I'm trying to log in from. It taps into that metadata and it sees that I am the same person who travels around and does all this stuff, and that's my profile.
Mm-hmm.
Then they know that it's coming from my phone, assuming it's me that has my phone. So that is pretty cool, but I don't know where the metadata key is stored or how it's stored, right? Because then doesn't that just make it a thing where if my metadata is stored in some sort of a file or as some sort of collection of data, then what's keeping someone from just stealing that data? And then we're back to square one again. So I don't know how you would store it, but if you could, that could be very cool.
I'm still waiting for the what's the catch. Like, that's cool.
Catch is it's happening whether we want it or not.
I know, but what's the catch? And I'm with Jackson. I'm like, do I like that? I'm trying to decide if I like that. I don't know if I like that. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. I don't know yet.
Okay, here it is. You get Neuralink, and Neuralink is your authentication.
Mm-mm.
You have your chip implanted in your head. So unless somebody goes through surgery and takes the chip out of your brain, then you're the only one person that can log in. I think that is the only way that it's a different form of authentication.
Yeah, you just walk through the wrong MRI scan room and your chip gets wiped.
if it gets to that point, I'm happy to shuffle off this mortal coil and be done. I'm done.
You don't want to be in the Matrix?
No. Or find me an isolated piece of land somewhere. There's no electricity, no Wi-Fi signals.
EMP blasts.
Yeah, I'll live in my Faraday cage the remainder of my days. Yeah,
So, yeah, I think that's the thing, is the only, well, I won't say the only, but the way I see it, if it were to go that far, I think we've got other issues. With the other issues being everyone's got a chip implanted in their head. So
But I
It's a
think the
cool
idea
idea.
of metadata could be kind of cool because if you drive in your car, you picked up by license plate readers, and your phone says that you were in that car, you could validate that. And I don't like this direction. You could prove you were not there. You prove your innocence. I hate that idea.
Prove you're somewhere completely different,
But you
too
could
far
use it.
away to matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be cool in the banking industry to say, hey, John showed up and withdrawed $1,000, $10,000, $100,000. Wish I had $100,000. Anyways, it'd be a cool bank to give me 100,000 cash. But if you don't have the metadata line up, like if there was, I hate to say blockchain kind of thing, but if there was some public record that you could access and say, hey, validate with these 7 different sources out there, this is me, then maybe we'd be a little safer. Maybe. No, we're
Maybe.
not safer.
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah,
that kind of sounds like how the credit bureaus are supposed to work.
Ooh,
Where, yeah.
have the Meta Bureau, not affiliated with Facebook.
That would be, they would need a lot of storage for something like that. Like access to all of Google's storage.
Mm.
It's
So
the
we're just-
government. They can make a whole bunch of those. The Department of Redundancy Department.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the farther we get down that road, we're skipping a lot of stuff that comes in between that. If we get down to that point, stuff that hasn't been developed yet, and processes and security measures that would certainly have been taken by then. So it's hard to say now what that could look like.
Yeah, we still don't even have a common healthcare file format to go from doctor to hospital to nurse to specialist. It's all different.
Mhm.
You get data output that somebody has to go do data entry and put it in the computer for that computer to spit it out and put it in somebody else's computer.
Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering, kind of going back to an episode we had a few weeks ago, when quantum computing starts really kicking in, how much of our ideas would be just completely different. We might be on a completely other track and road than we are on now to developing our cybersecurity or developing the way data is processed. So I think it's really hard to say, but I mean, we can always speculate.
Quantum computer thinks all the thoughts at the same time.
Now it's going to start predicting what my behavior is going to be.
Minority Report.
Yep, that's where we're headed.
I hope not.
Well, I don't see anything. I don't see how we're
Advertisers
not.
want that. They want to predict what I want to buy.
They do, and seeing
And I
as
tell
how
you,
it
from the Amazon listing, they're getting it way wrong. Just saying, Amazon, you got me wrong.
I'll say Amazon doesn't do too good. I look up one thing one time for funsies, and it never leaves my Amazon feed.
Oh, you looked at this thing. It comes from China. Here's something else that comes from China. Yeah, it's totally different. That's not what I need. That's not what I want.
But I don't see how that's not going to happen. Recognizing that Google and Google advertising is the most lucrative business on the planet. And I don't think anyone is willing to give that up very soon. And I think it's going to happen because we see that the general public is kind of the attitude of, well, what do I care if they have my data? I think that kind of seems to be the general perspective on all of this because people don't really understand what's going on. So I don't see it stop anytime soon because people are willing to go forward with it because of like what Mike was saying. It's an ease of use thing, right? The internet is free because you are the product. And there are so many things that are free and easy to use because they want to see how you use it. And that's what they're really getting at. And so it'd be an entire like world culture change that would probably require an apocalypse to change, right? I don't see how that would happen.
I think that's probably the best note to end this podcast on. What time are we at, Artie?
Yes. We're there.
Well, Jackson, I think you summarized it up brilliantly. There's nothing
What
I
can I
can do
say?
to add or subtract from that.
Call me
Except
a philosopher.
You're done. We're going to talk about this more. No, I'm kidding. Keep going.
No, that's I think that's it. I think Mike said it very well when he was talking about, everyone, the general public, we like that the internet's free and we want it to stay that way. I want it to stay that way, but the requirement is that advertisers get to advertise, and it's the most lucrative business on the planet. And there's going to be continued development into making that better for everyone, however you want to put it, but
there will be carnage. There will be collateral damage. There will be data.
One thing that I'm reminded of is that, even in the early days back in what a lot of people consider the golden age of the internet before, the rise of social media and that kind of stuff, you could make your own website on like AngelFire or GeoCities, and it was free. You got hosting, you got a small amount of drive space, but the one caveat was that every single one of your HTML pages that you put up there would have an advertisement put in above it. So it didn't matter if you went to like every subpage is going to have a banner at the top or a banner at the bottom, and that was the cost of having a free site.
Banners, I remember those.
So we've always had that aspect to our data that's out there. There's always been advertisers that were linked to anything free on the internet. So, reminiscing about the good old days, it hasn't changed. It's just gotten more sophisticated.
We're living the good old days. We're not sophisticated enough to understand it, though. Well, I'd say it's a fantastic conversation, guys. I love hearing your perspectives on where we're at and where the future could go. Love to hear our viewers' comments on the subject too. Could be fun to see where this conversation go if we take it more mainstream. But I think I'm going to have to put a dot on this one. We'll continue it next time. I'm not sure what we'll talk about, but tune in and find out. Until then, I'm John. Jackson's got. Jackson got something.
I'd love to hear what are some of people's favorite incidents of metadata use there are. One of my favorites, it's been popping in my head all this entire conversation. I meant to bring it up earlier was when we were talking about GPS. I'll be really quick with this. The way GPS works is you have 4 satellites that ideally you can have line of sight at all times at any point on the Earth. That's how it's designed. You get your time, then you get your 3 positional points. But the problem is when you get to a dense city, like say New York City, where you're surrounded by skyscrapers, that doesn't work too good, because you've got buildings that are in your line of sight from all the satellites.
Some people more dense than others in New York.
Yeah. And but the way that we have gotten around that since then is by using wireless access points. So New York is covered in Wi-Fi, and they can use Wi-Fi to then pinpoint your location, and that's how they get precise location. And to wrap this up, you know, one of the funniest things, or kind of scary too, was that people discovered that could be tapped into. That routers were just kind of displaying that. They were just throwing it out there, and they were communicating with each other. Hey, I see this device 30 feet away from me, and this one's like, oh yeah, I see it 20 feet away from me, so it must be here, you know. And then people figured out they could track that in, and then they were live tracking all of these devices all around town. And so that to me is like one of the cooler, you know, kind of metadata failures that we've had. And so it's interesting. So I'd be curious to know, what are some of the other kind of metadata slip-ups or maybe exploits that have been found?
I'll give you a tease on this one. There was a group that took that metadata, took vulnerable routers, jumped into those, took them over and started hacking into other Wi-Fis, neighboring Wi-Fis. So you could literally hack somebody's Wi-Fi from across the world.
Wow.
It's an interesting time we live in, guys. Jackson, I appreciate you jumping in and derailing our closing, but I think it was worth it.
Anytime.
So I'll let you take it back on, Mike.
Well, good night, everybody. I'm Mike.
I'm Jackson.
And I'm about to press the off button.
Go for it, Artie.